Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to be going over how to utilize Aerospike Expressions to speed up secondary index queries in the Aerospike NoSQL database. So we're going to start by giving a little bit of a preface as to what Aerospike Expressions are. So they expose the capability to perform additional server-side filtering whenever you perform a secondary index query. So that is when you want to fetch records that you do not know the primary key for, as long as you have a secondary index present on at least one of the bins in the records that you're trying to fetch, and you know the filtering criteria, you can perform a query to retrieve those subset of records. And once you retrieve those records, you can either perform any additional filtering client-side, or for some performance benefits, you can actually utilize Aerospike Expressions and have that filtering performed server-side. So by the time the client actually returns those records, a lot of that filtering has already been performed for you. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the arithmetic operations, and these expressions are actually kind of new to Aerospike, and they'll only work in Aerospike version, server version 5.6 and up. So if you have an older version, you'll need to upgrade to 5.6 to take advantage of these new features. So I'm going to start off by showing you guys some of the operations I have planned on testing. The first one is an addition operation. So we're going to add these two bins, this margin bin and this cache bin, which has balances that are floats. So we're going to add those two together, and then we're going to compare if the result of that addition is less than, that's what this LT operator is, less than 0. So that would mean that you have a greater margin balance, because this is signed as negative, than cache balance. And we're just going to build out that condition. Next one is kind of the opposite. So instead of checking against the negative net balance, we're going to build an expression to check against the positive net balance. So that would mean that you have a cache balance that is greater than margin balance. So kind of the same type of addition operation, but we perform a greater than rather than less than. And then finally, we just build out that expression. And then lastly, we have a expression to actually check an index on account numbers. So this would be useful for whenever you want to process, say, like a subset of records that have like maybe an account number attached to them, and you only want to process for like a specific index range. So if you had like an 8-digit account number and you're only interested in processing, account numbers that have like the last 4 digits of a certain value, in this case it's 8910, this would allow you to perform that calculation in the expression itself. So if you wanted to grab the last 4 digits of an 8-digit account ID, that would just be a mod by 10,000. So that's exactly what we're doing here on this account ID bin. We're filtering out only those that are equal to 8910. That's what this equality expression is for. So now that I've kind of explained some of the expressions, let's go back to our program class. And before we actually give it a run, let's also see the records that we're going to be filtering against. So these 3 methods to generate 3 different records. The first one has a margin balance that's greater than the cache balance. So we should see this record be picked up in that negative net balance query. The second one, we have a cache balance that's greater than margin. So we should see this record picked up in that positive net balance query. And the last one also has a cache balance that's greater than margin. So we should see that picked up in that other query as well. And then these 2 records also have an account ID that's ending in 8910. So we should see both of these also appear in that last expression where we actually check against those account ID indexes. So let's go ahead and get started and give it a run. So the first one will be for that negative net balance. So we should see just that first record appear whenever we run this. So you can see that we inserted all 3 records, and then only the first record came through, which is expected, which has the margin balance of negative 1,500 and a positive cash balance of 1,200. But the margin balance, whenever you combine these two, you have a net balance that is less than 0, so that's why it meets that criteria. And then to kind of get an example of where you could add some business logic to this is you could potentially maybe flag an account that has a negative net balance. So that is the first one. Now let's go ahead and build that positive balance. We should see 2 records appear for this one, which we do. So margin of 0, cash of 100, margin of negative 12,500, and then a cash balance of 560,321. So those records meet that criteria as well, and it is working as expected. Lastly, let's go ahead and build that account ID index expression. So we should only see accounts that are ending in 8910 appearing. So that is working as expected here as well. So there are also some additional arithmetic operations that I didn't go over in this video, like division, subtraction, multiplication. You can kind of utilize those the same way. There's also non-arithmetic expressions available, logical control flows. So if you guys are interested in learning more about those, I can definitely make some more videos, and I'll leave a link to the GitHub repository that I have all the source code under, so you can take a look, clone it yourself, and play around with it. And if there are any other Aerospike related topics you guys are interested in learning more about, please let me know in the comments, and I can try to make some content about that as well. But I think that about wraps it up. I hope this gave you some insight into how you can utilize Aerospike expressions, and in particular some of these newer arithmetic operations. They are pretty handy and can definitely improve performance in regards to secondary index querying. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.